Welcome everyone to another edition of Making an Impact. I am your host, Simply Sensational Billy James. We're trying a few different things. We're still having some issues with the green screen, so we're going to change things up this week. What Impact Wrestling, we had 5 matches tonight, and we had finally EC3 versus Rockstar Spud, hair versus hair. Also, we got Bobby Roode versus Eric Young, a last man standing match. Plus we got Bram versus Magnus and a lot much more. So we're going to get to it. A lot of great matches, and coming from the Wimbledon Stadium in London, England during their Impact Wrestling Tour, Maximum Impact Wrestling Tour, excuse me. And a lot of good stuff to talk about. We're going to get to it here in just a minute. Okay, we had our first match of the night, Bobby Roode versus Eric Young, last standing match, and ooh, was it a great match. They tore each other apart from limb to limb. Bobby Roode wasted no time going after Eric Young, and he just peppered him with shots left and right, and worked on him on the outside of the ring, hitting him with guardrails. However, Eric Young was able to turn things around, ramming Bobby Roode into the apron, and then hit a double stomp, and then just started beating the living crap out of him. And they worked their way up the main entrance ramp, but Bobby Roode was able to get a running clothesline in on Eric Young and took Young down. That allowed Bobby Roode to go back to the ring, and he pulls a table from out under the ring and sets it up. But before he can set Eric Young up, Eric Young makes a comeback, and we got him going back and forth. Chairs get involved, and they knock each other out. So the ref starts a double count out. But they both were able to get back up. Eric Young went for a pile driver, but Bobby Roode blocked it and nailed the pile driver on Eric Young on the steel chair. However, Eric Young would not stay down. These guys would go back and forth until finally, Bobby Roode, after a first Roode bomb attempt failed, was able to hit a second one that sent himself and Eric Young to the outside of the ring, putting Eric Young through the table. Bobby Roode was able to get back up to his feet before the 10 count. Bobby Roode wins the last man standing match. What a way to kick off Impact Wrestling. This match was taking consideration commercial and everything, but this match started as soon as the show started, and it went about 23-25 minutes. So great way to start off Impact Wrestling. The crowd was hot for this match. The action was great. Both men did a great job. I'm assuming this is the end of this feud. Where does Bobby Roode go from here? He really doesn't have a claim to the #1 contendership, sort of, but he never has gotten his one-on-one rematch with Bobby Lashley. Eric Young, where does Eric Young go from here? I like this heel turn by Eric Young, but who's he going to feud with now? That's the million-dollar question. Hopefully we'll find those answers down the road. But nevertheless, great match. If you missed this, you need to go and watch it on YouTube or on Destination America's website, because this was a damn good match. You need to watch it. Okay, Drew McIntyre came down to the ring and started talking about to the wrestling fans, and then went out into the crowd talking about how he grew up being a wrestling fan, and wrestling fans enjoyed wrestling until promoters or such started shoving things down our throat. And then he goes on to talk about the Beatdown Clan and how they're trying to shove their agenda down our throats, and yet he is going to put a stop to it. Well, the Beatdown Clan comes out, specifically with MVP addressing Drew McIntyre, and they go back at it, back and forth, with MVP telling Drew that, hey, you were once called the chosen one, but you just stuck your nose into the Beatdown Clan's business, and now it's on. So MVP challenges Drew McIntyre to a match. We get it. The rest of the Beatdown Clan go to the back. For the most part, it's even Steven, but Drew is edging out MVP. It was a short match. Drew McIntyre started getting the advantage and had just avoided a drive-by from MVP and had set him up for the future shock. But the Beatdown Clan comes down, causes the DQ, and they attack and beat the crap out of Drew McIntyre. On the outside of the ring, they leave him there on the floor, and they look like they're going to head to the back. Though they go and grab him and beat him up some more. It looks like Samoa Joe's disgusted with it, and he's like trying to shake him off. No, 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 no more, no more. But then he pulls out the steel pipe. He gives it to Loki, who nails Drew McIntyre in the forehead, causing him to bleed. I look for a match between Loki and Drew McIntyre. I think it'd be a damn good match, and I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't happen next week. I think it would. It would make sense for it to happen next week, but who knows. Nevertheless, I think it'd be a really good match. I doubt the X Division title would be on the line. I think somebody is waiting in the wings to cash in a chance for that title. Hint, hint. But I still think it would be a great match. It's going to be interesting to see going down the road, Drew McIntyre versus the Beatdown Clan. Who is going to join Drew McIntyre to take on the Beatdown Clan, or is it going to be Drew all by himself? We'll just have to wait and see. If you missed this match, not a big deal. You didn't miss much, but this was not more about the match. It was more about storyline progression, and that it did advance the storyline along. Okay, we had our third match of the night, Magnus versus Bram. Before the match began, in the back, Magnus was talking with his fiancée and probably one of the greatest women's wrestlers alive today, who is still actively wrestling, Mickie James, about his match. And he basically told her, she told him to rethink things. You know what the doctor said about your neck and shoulder. He says he's going to make Bram pay tonight and asks Mickie to stay in the back. So, match starts off, they slugging it out in the ring. Bram gets the upper hand, hits a nice net breaker on Magnus, who sells it pretty good, showing that he's in pain with his neck and shoulder. They go back and forth. Magnus makes a comeback, taking down Bram. Mickie James comes down to ringside at this point. Magnus hits a flurry of clotheslines, taking Bram down, then goes to the top rope. He hits the flying elbow. He sets Bram up for his finishing move, the spine shaker. However, Bram low blows him in front of the referee, which causes a DQ, and then he gets a steel chair and starts beating the crap out of Magnus, to the dismay of Mickie James. At this point, why the referee is not calling for help, he goes outside to restrain Mickie from getting in the ring, while Bram goes to outside the ring. He gets a tie strip and zip and ties Magnus's left hand to the ring rope. So at that point, Bram gets the cue ball and is preparing to knock out Magnus once more. However, the referee now decides to get in the ring to stop Bram, but Bram shoves the referee out of the way, knocking him out. Mickie then slides into the ring to stop Bram, who grabs her by the hair, but then Mickie slaps the taste out of Bram's mouth. This leads Bram to grab Mickie by the neck, holding her in a headlock while taunting Magnus, and with Magnus screaming, "Leave her alone, let her go, let her go." Bram says, "I will, only if you kiss my boot." Reluctantly, at much hesitation, Magnus does. Bram does release Mickey, and he leaves him calling Magnus pathetic, and that Bram is now the star of TNA. Interesting way, it's going to continue this feud. I think it's going to be more of a payoff when Magnus, does beat Bram. I thought that Magnus did a great job selling the moves to his neck, especially the neck breaker. I thought Bram did a great job, and I thought Mickey did a great job. I thought all across the board, great storyline progression, and it was a good match. So we got 2 for the price of 1. When will we see Bram versus Magnus again? I don't know. I expect Mickey to be involved in this one. I'm glad she's back in TNA, but I want to see her in the ring. I like to see her get one more title run in that Knockouts title. But still, it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen between Bram and Magnus again. When will we see Bram versus Magnus 2? I don't know, but I'm looking forward to it. I don't know about you guys, but I am. Okay, we have our 4th match of the night, an intergender match. Robbie E of the Bromans taking on his former girlfriend, Brooke Tessmacher. It was more of a comedy match because Robbie E comes down like he's wearing the jacket with the hood over his head, and they're coming down there like they're his promoters, his gang entourage. And they have damn, stools set between bouts. He's doing the whole thing. And they got the spray bottle. They first, try locking up. And Robbie just makes fun of her. Going and sitting over after a move, sitting down, being sprayed with water. They go for a test of strength. He does overpower her a little. And gets her in a headlock. She is able to switch it around and get a headlock. It was, a little back and forth. At one point, they run the ropes until Angelina Love trips Brooke, which causes Robbie to be able to hit a suplex on Brooke. He goes to the top rope, tries to go for the elbow or a fist shot. He misses and such. Brooke then starts hitting chops and blows on Robbie, just, relay him. Then she goes to his corner, grabs the stool, and starts making fun of him, spraying herself with the water bottle. Angelina Love tries to interfere again, but this time Brooke's had enough. She leaps over the ropes, takes out Angelina Love, but she gets nailed by Robbie coming back in. Robbie, while the referee's distracted by DJ Z, Robbie is holding Brooke in a full Nelson lock. When Jesse Gunner comes in, he tries to hit a drop kick. Brooke's able to get loose, ducks down. Robbie gets nailed with the drop kick. Brooke immediately shoves Jesse out of the ring, rolls a jackknife pin cover on Robbie E. 1, 2, 3. Brooke Tessmacher is your winner. Comedy match. I've been one that I'm not sure why TNA decided to go this angle. I'm sure they just wanted to pick up off of the, exposure Robbie and Brooke got from being on The Amazing Race. And, to be quite honest, who could blame them? But I just thought it was weird that they were taking a wrestling, a real life story and turning it into a wrestling angle. But hey, that's what they do in wrestling. Where does this take Robbie E? I don't know. I think this feud should be over with. Robbie needs to move on. Whether it be the Bromans focus back on recapturing the tag team titles, or Robbie E sets his eyes on the X Division title. I don't see a world title run in his future right now, but I can see an X Division title run anytime soon for him. Now for Brooke, what does she need to do? Brooke needs to get back into the thick of things and try to get a shot at that TNA Knockouts title. She's a former 2-time TNA Knockouts champion, and I think she deserves another run with the title. But only time will tell when and if that is going to happen. Speaking about Brooke has signed a 1-year deal with TNA. So she will be staying with TNA through another year. So that's cool to see. Also, other people who have signed, Robbie E, not Robbie E, Bobby Roode has signed, and also Angelina Love and current TNA Knockouts champion Terry Terrell. I'll talk more about that a little later in the show. Okay, we had our main event of the night, EC3 versus Rockstar Spud, hair versus hair. This was a match that, before it started, that it was advertised with graphics, viewer discretion warning due to graphic violence. Match was pretty good. Rockstar Spud started off pretty quick. He hit nailing EC3 and got him on the outside of the ring and hit a nice drop kick, sending EC3 into the barber's chair. Spud tried to keep the flurry on EC3, but EC3 was finally able to come back and started grounding down Spud. But Spud finally was able to send EC3 to was able to hit a nice swanton on EC3, taking him down. However, while EC3 had the referee distracted, Tyrus came down and hit a nice spine buster on Spud, taking him out. Rolled him back in the ring. EC3 went for the cover, but Spud was able to kick out. Anderson comes down and he counteracts Tyrus, taking Tyrus out with the mic check. Now it becomes even Steven, but EC3 has control of the match. However, while the referee is distracted, Jeremy Borash, who's sitting ringside after being taunted by EC3, comes in, low blows him. This allows, excuse me, sorry, had an itch there. It allows Spud to come back. Spud takes him out with the insecurity kick and goes for a pinfall attempt, but cannot get the job done. After being hit with a hard blow to the head from EC3's elbow brace, which busted Spud open, they go back and forth. Spud finally is able to make a comeback. He hits another Shining Wizard and goes for another finishing move, but cannot keep EC3 down. However, EC3 finally puts Spud away with the 1%er, 1, 2, 3. EC3 is your winner. Shocking out of character, EC3 praises Spud for his tenacity and his hard willingness not to give up, and that he is proving himself a man, and that he's not going to cut his hair tonight. He's not going to embarrass him in front of his home crowd and such. And he shakes hands with Spud as Spud's leaving the ring. EC3 grabs him, takes him out again, and grabs the shears and shaves his head, screaming, "Do you think I was going to let this go?" I kind of saw this coming. I'm surprised that they didn't go with the Spud route since it was Spud's home crowd. But in a way, I'm kind of glad, because I really, while Spud has really, kind of changed my opinion about him, not fully, I did not think Spud should have been the one to end EC3's undefeated streak. So I'm glad to see that TNA decided not to do that. Okay, where does this leave EC3? EC3 has not held a title. Where does this leave EC3? Also, Spud, he is in possession of the Feast or Fired X Division briefcase, guaranteeing him a title shot at the X Division Championship. So let's hypothetically say that Spud cashes in on Loki and successfully wins. Then what happens? Does EC3 decide to go after Spud for the title, or does EC3 decide to take Tyrus with him and go for the tag team titles? We'll just have to wait and see. It's going to be interesting nevertheless, but it's a great match. I highly recommend you watch it. Hard to see if this was the match of the night or if it was the Bobby Roode versus Eric Young, the last man stand match. But nevertheless, this was a great match. EC3 versus Rockstar Spud. If you missed it, you gotta go and watch it because this was a damn good match. Okay, this week's Superstars of the Week, it's a tie, it's hard to pick, so I'm just going to call it Bobby Roode, Eric Young, and Rockstar Spud, along with EC3. All four guys, they did great in their matches, and not only did they put on a great match, they told a story, and that's what wrestling's all about, is putting on a great match while telling a story. Like I said, with the Robbie E versus Brooke Intergender match, it was more comical, but hopefully it puts an end to that storyline. I like to see Robbie E move on, and I like to see Brooke move on. Especially, I like to see my girl Brooke move on to the X Division, toward the Knockouts title. Like I said earlier, we got Taryn Terrell, who's re-signed with TNA. Matt Hardy has signed a 1-year deal with TNA. We also have that Rockstar Spud has signed. We got now Bobby Roode has signed. So we got a lot of things going on in TNA. Also, some cool things I've heard TNA. They canceled their April tapings, but they're going to be taping in May. But also, they are working on getting back on the road doing live events starting in June, which is great. If you have not been to a TNA house show, by far, I'm telling you, you need to go. You'll have the best experience in your life. It is awesome. I've been to 5 TNA house shows, and I know some of you who have watched me regularly know me like a broken record, but it's just freaking awesome. The wrestlers I have met have been just so great. They're all really cool. The last show I went to, I met everybody who was on the card, and it was freaking awesome. Also, the third house show I went to, it was my fourth, excuse me, by far the best experience. I got to meet the greatest women's wrestler of all time. You know, by now I'm a huge Mickie James fan, so it was just an honor to get to meet her. So, kudos. I'm glad that they're getting back on the road and going to be doing live events. So, anyway, this was a great show. Overall, I give it 8. Like I said, one match was short, but it was more. It got the story across, and we had one comedy match. But I think the other 3 matches were good, with the main event and the opening match being the best matches of the night. So, with that being said, next week we have Bobby Lashley defending the TNA World Heavyweight title against the current #1 contender, Kurt Angle. It's the first time meeting between Lashley and Angle, who will walk away with the TNA title. Also next week, it's already been announced, we are going to have a triple threat match for the TNA Knockouts title. Taryn Terrell defends against Awesome Kong and Gail Kim. Also, we're going to have a special, I believe it's a no DQ match between Matt Hardy and the Cowboy James Storm. So it's a lot of great things going on next week. Gotta check it out. You never know what's going to happen. So, okay, it's plug time. Don't forget, every Tuesday night, it's brought to you by the Nerdport Network on Blog Talk Radio. It's the Wrestling Debate with myself, John P. Mayer, my partner in crime, also Sean the Shark Williams, Stat Boy, Hamey, Michelle. We're all on there. We'll talk about different things from WWE, TNA, Lucha Underground, Ring of Honor, Pro Wrestling Syndicate. A lot of great stuff we talk about. Also, don't forget to check out every Wednesday night. It's also brought to you by the Nerdport Network on the Blog Talk Radio, and that is an independent point of view. Like I've always said, my good buddy John Mayer, he's got his finger on the pulse of independent wrestling, especially Pro Wrestling Syndicate, and he's had some great interviews. and you never know who he's going to interview next. So you got to watch, listen to that show. So that's it for this week's edition of Making an Impact. I've been your host, Simply Sensational Billy James. And hey guys, thank you for last week. I was feeling very ill. I had a real bad sinus infection, so I wasn't able to record video-wise, so I just did an audio recording. 47 views. Thank you guys. I appreciate that, and I appreciate your support. So anyway, that's it for this week's edition of Making an Impact. I've been your host, Simply Sensational Billy James, and we'll catch you all next week. And like the shirt says, wrestling can't get enough.